Okay, welcome to the work session for the Village of Wappingers Falls, Wednesday, February 24th, 2016. Would you please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, the purpose of our work session is primarily to discuss items that we know that we need to work on and discuss as a board. That's the format of this meeting. From time to time, because we have a quorum, we would be able to take a vote. And tonight, I would like to take the roll call first. And so I will say that I am here. Trustee Chase? Here. Trustee Nisnik? Here. Trustee Davis?
Present.
Trustee Komornick?
Here.
Trustee Huber?
Here.
Trustee Calabrese? Okay. And so tonight, the first item on the agenda will be to have KC Engineering discuss the ongoing projects that we have going on in the village. So I'd like to ask KC to, actually, if you could come over this way and talk to us.
Okay.
You can sit down if you want.
Okay.
It's more comfortable for you. If you could sit down here.
Okay. If it's acceptable to the board, I'd like to focus our project discussion time today to the CW, the Clean Water and the Drinking Water grants. As you probably know, the round 2 for the grants were announced recently. And round 1 was last summer, and we worked with the village to put in an application. We actually submitted it just before the September 4th deadline. The village was not successful in getting a grant within round 1. The village has a belief that you might be in good standing for potential grants in round 2. We're working diligently to figure out what the scope might be for that, because there's quite a bit of work to do to prepare for the application. The applications are due April 15th. So what you have here in these 3 pages I've just handed out, the state, they see CW Clean Water and DW Drinking Water as 2 separate things. It's actually 2 separate work groups at EFC and DOH that look at them. But we like to look in a holistic way, because you're 5,600 person community, and we need to see the financial impact overall. On the second and third pages, we have a drawing that shows the CW plan and a drawing that shows the DW plan. So if you wanted to see where any of those listed streets are. But going back to the first page, this spreadsheet, if you look at both the CW and the DW side, and you get down to the subtotal line, which is colored in beige, the subtotal line is the current program that you're working towards as the village. You've already built North Mizzier Avenue, you've already done contract 1, contract 2, the bids are due this Friday, and you'll be in construction this year. Contract 3, continuing down the list, that one is in design now, in prep for construction next year, and that subtotal gets you to the game plan that you've already committed and set out to do. The total for those 2 jobs together is a little over 19 million. I understand that in the history of you discussing these projects, you've always had in your mind 20 million. So now you have before you a potential for 5 million in grant money for clean water and a potential of 2 million in grant money for drinking water. So looking at that, and also keeping in mind the fact that on the CW side you've succeeded at being eligible for hardship, meaning 0 interest loan, where the current proposal from talking with the village and trying to work out a plan, we want to maximize the benefit of the potential grants and also maximize the potential benefit of the 0 interest loan. So the EFC allows you over a 5-year period to have up to $20 million in the 0 interest loan. So on the CW side, you are already committed to 14.6 million. We're proposing to add the 3 remaining trunk sewers within the village. North Mizzier Trunk, East Main Street from South Mizzier to Route 9 and Brookside Drive trunk line. Once you finish the work that's in progress now and those, you'll have your more significant trunk sewers taken care of. And then the last item that is added to the list is rehabilitation of sewers that through the cleaning and videoing and analysis of the remaining sewers, you're reconstructing a lot of your old sewers, but you'll still have a lot of old sewers left. We want to clean and TV inspect them so that we can see the condition and then prioritize where we use the remaining bits of money, whether it be from the EFC program or perhaps you go after CDBG money for targeted areas. So item 4.1 is rehabilitation of the remaining village sanitary sewers at various locations that are identified as priorities from the TV inspection. So those things together add up to 25 million. We are talking about it now because in order to go down the path of the grant application, the state requires that you do bond resolution for the amount of money for the grant and the projects. So we're looking to get the budget and your wishes established so that your bond council can work on the bond resolution. Right now the proposal is 25 million, unless you have a different thought on that. But in order to put the paperwork together to do bond resolution, to do seeker modification, SHPO sign off and revised engineers report, even though April 15th feels like it's a while away, we need to keep moving forward. If you pursue bond resolution for the 25 million in this program, like it's been so far, there's continuous times where there are touch points where we discuss where you are, where you've been, where you're going. So it doesn't mean that if you do a bond resolution for 25 million, you gotta go to 25 million no matter what happens. You're continually reassessing where you've been, where you are, where you're going. And that leaves your option open to go to the 25 million and maximize your benefit of the potential grant and the potential zero interest loan. On the DW side, the list is similar. These jobs go together. The beige line is what you've already committed to, 4.5 million on the DW side. We're proposing to add East Main Street while you're working on the sewer, add East Main Street, and then the total 5.2 million. You have to spend, or have allocated rather, 3.33 million in order to be eligible for the 2 million on the water side. So the grand total of this, you've verbally said in the past that you want to keep within 20 million. That's your current plan. Now it's considering the possibility of your current plan extending to just over 30 million, but within that 30 million, the reason for it is applying for the grants, which these water infrastructure grants, they're actual grants, there's no match. It's free money, the 5 million eligible for CW and the 2 million eligible for DW. So of that 30.2 million, 7 of it, if you succeed, 7 of it would be grant money. So you're looking at increasing your thought of 20 million to 23 million to take advantage of $7 million worth of grants. If you don't get the grants, this additional scope isn't added.
And you don't have to go to 23 million either. You could stay at 20 million and still be eligible for the 7 million.
That's correct. It's called not a match program, but the grant, the way it works is whatever the money you spend, if it is eligible, then you get a 25% of what you spend. And they agree to include all our contract 1, contract 2, contract 3, even North Mizzier where we already spent. Matt and I had a meeting with the CEO of the EFC, and she put a team together to work with us, and they were going out of their way to help us. And also, this is the only opportunity where we have a $20 million program, and where we could take advantage of the grant. And it may not come, in the future, because it's hard for village to come up with another $80 million program. And at least, as an engineer, that I do understand the financial constraints
worth sharing, as Raj just said. A couple of weeks ago, Raj and Matt and Scott, they met with the EFC and were very surprised when they walked in and it was a room full of state people. They had people from legal, finance, and engineering and administration all there to meet with the village to talk about ways to strategically align your clean water and drinking water listings. And the head of EFC decreed that the state would put together a project team to work with the village. And we had the kickoff meeting for that effort last Wednesday. Jennifer Brown came to our office so that we could have engineering and finance both represented. And since that meeting last Wednesday, I've already been in contact a couple of times with the head of the engineering group about potential list for the village, and the lead counsel on the team on the state side has already had a one-on-one conversation with your bond counsel to give guidance on exactly what would need to be in a bond resolution, so that we make sure that we're doing what is required for the grant application and all the supporting documents. We can do it in a proper fashion to increase your potential for success.
And also the reason we wanted to present today is, I know you guys are ready for the budget hearing, but we wanted to get an opinion from the board before we put any more effort and pursue the engineering reports and talking to legal counsel and all that. We wanted to get the input from the board.
I think that, I don't think that we're gonna have many of these opportunities come down the road, at least not during my tenure, and not to try to take advantage of $7 million is I think that it's prudent for us to seize the opportunity and continue, and also help us prioritize everything, and if other funding comes up, then there's availability there. I think it's great for us to be able to do that. It's not good that we're a hardship, but on the other hand, a zero interest loan doesn't come by very often.
Nor does $7 million of infrastructure money.
Exactly.
I think this is, and we're well positioned for it, and we've really put a lot of work already into it. In the first round, they've gone over the whole thing, and so this is, we have spent money in this effort, a very small amount of money compared to the $7 million. But
And the engineered report that we need to do for round two, it's simply an update of the prior one. We're in good shape because we already did the effort last summer, and it's a matter of just updating what needs to be updated. It's not
And if they're
starting from
interacting
scratch.
with you, I think that's very positive. So.
Yeah.
Okay, so we talked about this, the committee talked about this at CWSRF, but I don't think three of you got to hear that, so this is really to bring you back in and to get your questions and see if there's...
So when would the $7 million, when would that be, Darren?
The applications are, if you succeed at getting the $7 million, we would go out to a phase 4. And so we would do that work and the construction would be 2018. And the grant applications are due April 15th. And then the decision by the state is up to their timeline, but probably at least 3 months or so.
Would we gain, would there be a benefit to doing this in phase 3 for the contract size?
No, there is no benefit there. And also, we talked extensively with the EFC, they said they're going to extend our timeline to 2 more years.
But it wouldn't make us more competitive and we're at probably the prime spot. Okay.
And so then if we bonded the $30 million and we didn't get the grants, then we could just
Use what we originally planned.
put that back.
Right.
So
And the bond, it's a bond resolution. You don't actually go to bond. You're right. You're agreeing to.
It's a commitment.
Yeah.
Because the EFC doesn't want to commit the grant and then we end up not using it, they don't want to, because the idea is the governor wanted to make it as a shovel-ready projects and package it as shovel-ready projects.
Okay, are you guys okay with us moving forward? You want to do a straw poll? authorize this to go on? There's no vote necessary, but,
I'm in.
okay. Good. Chase, John?
Yes.
Kevin?
Yes.
Yes.
All right.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No, I think that this is enough for tonight. I know you have a lot of other things to do.
Great work, thank you.
Yeah, and tomorrow night we'll see many of you at the public meeting for the TAP project.
Yep.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're gonna move on. We're gonna move on with the rest of the meeting. So again, a reminder, this is the first time we've actually filmed a workshop session for,
This is just boundaries.
to be aired. So this is going to be aired as a regular meeting, because it is a regular meeting. I think what we'll do now is I'll ask Judge Chase to address the board as far as the court goes first. Okay. And if you want to sit right here, you come up.
Do I have to sit? I can stand, right?
You can stand, yes.
I sit all the time.
You stand.
Be seated. Okay, first of all is that Donna Contello is here with me, and Judge Tadaro is here with me to help me present this budget. There's two parts of the budget. First is the articulated one, in which you have a copy. If you don't have the copy, we make copies for you. Those are the things in which tells us how we get to the budget itself. And to start off with is that, let me just throw out a couple of figures here as you're getting those. First of all, the village of Wappingers Falls is ranked 7th in the Dutchess County out of 26. And also the village of Wappingers Falls. The village of Wappingers Falls is rated 133 out of 1,229 courts in New York State. That's the busyness of it, and we'll explain how we get there. First of all, is that we had the budget based upon what they call the zero-base calculation, and just to make it, and it's within that 0.07 cap. The reason we did that to the zero base is that a lot of times budgets are based upon the 10%. What you had last year, you base your budget on and add 10%. And then they negotiate from there. Zero budget means that we start off and make sure that we still need those particular functions in doing that. And right now is that Joe has come and helped me with the security. Joe, would you just explain about the security part?
Sure. Right now, all the court officers or court attendants, as they're defined for village purposes, have to be informed of the civil service test. The court officers, like I said, serve as court attendants. They're not actually officers. They don't have police or peace officer status, although we are evaluating to have the court officers reclassified as constable. If that comes to fruition, that would give them peace officer status under the state law. And the reason we're looking at that is for liability purposes in the event that there was some occasion where they had to step forward and take action, removing someone from the court or whatever. So we've also continued to monitor the security needs of the court. They continue to evolve. The court is in the 9th phase, and we're evaluating establishing an armed officer in the court during court proceedings. We've upgraded the security by having cameras installed at a cost of $1,200. The officers or attendants are going to be getting security guard training at Dutchess Community College. It's just a basic 8-hour introductory course, and the cost of that is $83 per person per course. It's not $83 per hour. so it's just $83 for the course per person. We've asked the Office of Court Administration to send down a security person to do an audit on our court to help with our needs. And we've installed, we have the metal detector out front, we have the bullet-resistant glass. Jason Thomas does the scheduling for the court attendants, and I should make mention that the state of New York granted the funds for the purchase of the metal detector via the Justice Court Grant Program. Also, I wanted to mention that currently with every ticket that we send to the state, we're going to be getting an increase back, the amount that comes back to the village. It's going to go from $15, regardless of what the fine is. We send it to the state, they send us back $15 per ticket. It's going to increase to $38 per ticket. So that's something to make note of, and that was passed. That was legislation that's been passed for us. I think that's covered the security. Is there any other issues?
No, and I just want to dovetail onto that, is the, not only what Joe has said about that increase in the monies in which we're getting back here, it was passed by all of the towns down in New York, and that's going to be put forth to the legislature. Right now, we have a surcharge of $93, of which I think we get $3 or something like that. Anyway, it's way inadequate, because we do all the work, and when I say we, the commissioner, the police, they run the police department. You fund it, we put it through to put it down for fines, and they give us $15. What a business, what a business. So I just wanted to dovetail onto that. At this time, I'd just like to say is that there's a line item in here. The commissioner, which is Jason Thomas, he's the guy who schedules all of our court attendance, and we put that in there for a reason, because there are some things in which he may need. And when I talk about that, things like paper and things like, pens, papers, and some books.
Administrative.
Administrative stuff. So now comes down the personnel. Personnel, as you know, you guys sit in enough of that. But I'm lucky. I have a lady named Donna Capelmo. She's going to go through some of this with you, and we're going to walk through this. Okay, Donna, talk about the
Yes, sir.
okay.
Judge Chase wanted me to mention, well, first of all, let me elaborate here. When we first sent this proposal upstairs, a couple of changes have been made. For example, on number 4, where it says the court is in the process of interviewing for a 20-hour-a-week part-time position. I'm actually happy and very pleased to say we just hired a young girl that we're extremely excited about. She'll be starting next Friday, and she's going to be filling the 20-hour-a-week time slot. And we're just looking forward to that.
Donna, just tell a little bit of her background.
Oh, certainly. I actually have some information on her. Well, her name is Cindy Caracchio, and she has quite an extensive background as a chief court clerk down in Irvington, in Westchester County. She has probably more qualifications than I do. So if you want to just take a peek of her cover letter and her resume, you can understand why I was passed this around. You can understand why we, after seeing her qualifications, we jumped on the opportunity. The unfortunate part is, for Cindy, her pay scale down in Westchester was, I can't even tell you, it was probably 3 times of what I'm making now. So, but she's willing to accept the part-time position and just to get closer to home. The only thing I do want to bring up is, maybe this is a little premature, but typically we start somebody, a new hire, at the bottom scale, which is $15 and change. For this wondering if at all possible if they would be allowed to maybe have her jump up a step. I don't know if it's ever been done before, whether it's a union thing, but if you would maybe take that into consideration maybe, and maybe discuss the matter. That's all I can say. I mean, she'd be well worth it. I mean, we're just, we're lucky to have such qualified people step aboard.
And I must also say is that John Carge has always been helpful in the personnel. As he got him, he brought him down to us, and we went through it, and we made sure that he was the fountain of knowledge to be the interface with all the rest of it. Because periodically you have meetings and the courts is in session when you're not here, and when you're here, we're not in session. So he's been instrumental in continuing to have that flow down. Go ahead, Don.
Okay, I don't mean to jump around a lot, but I also want to state that some of the changes that we kind of looked at since we submitted the budget so early, if you look at the pay scales and the salaries or what have you, the money we budgeted out for personnel, should look something like this. Well, I actually took a good look at this, and I mentioned something to Judge Chase a short while back. Right now, we had typically budgeted for 2 part-time clerks who were working 33 hours per week. One of them has since left us. We lost Christine to the town. So we have 1 clerk now working at 33 hours a week to cover what we've lost. We have Teresa working 20 hours a week, and then we have myself. Excluding the justices, I just want to pass these around to you so you can take a look at this. My ultimate goal is to see Mrs. Zombrano work 35 hours a week at full time. And I know you're probably thinking of that as we're not at all interested, or the possibilities of making somebody else full time is out of the question. But I just drew this up. This is just a scenario, just to show you what I think that based on the pay scale that we have right now, and I know that you would have to pay benefits, but I think we'd be saving some money here. Now, the second page shows the information that the treasurer had sent down to the court, showing the possibility of a new hire. It says 35 hours. It shows the pay scales and what they're anticipating for the 2016-2017 budget. If we were to reverse the new hire to 20 hours a week, which what we had just recently hired her at $15.73 per hour, and make Ms. Zombrano full-time, giving her an additional few hours at $21.28 an hour, you can see where I might have come up with a difference. I mean, you probably have to sit down and see where I was coming from. But I really would, appreciate you maybe giving it consideration and letting us know if it's at all possible.
And also, if you think, if you look at it, it's really a reduction of our total cost as far as the expense per hour. And the other thing is that we do have limitations for how many hours we can have our court clerks work. So
that is another thing. I don't mean to interrupt Judge Chase, but I think that when we knew Christine was leaving, we knew that in December, and we took the opportunity of maybe slowing up on the process of hiring somebody just to see how we could handle the mode with that loss of that person, and just to see what we were actually losing. And I have to say that we felt the heat tremendously. We definitely felt the heat, and I'm glad we did it that way. We slowed the process, but it showed us that we're at a great loss by losing that person at 33 hours, not to mention the fact that she was a great worker.
Also is that, look at number 5, is that this is just to comply with the laws of the villages. We have one village justice and one active village justice. And we have done that to comply with the laws that is currently on the books. There is other resolutions. I talked to different people about it, and sometimes they have 2 judges elected and 1 acting, but that hasn't been completed as far as that information is concerned. The other thing is I look at page, item 8. This just gives you an idea of what the load is as we see through it. And you can see the misdemeanors, the felonies, the infractions, the total amount is 10,000 cases that we have. Now, these are line item cases, but I want to tell you something. It's very simple math. There's 365 days in a year, and there's 10,000 cases. So you can see how busy we actually have come. The other thing, too, is that we looked at, Donna, did you want to report on this part?
Well, we put it in there, so we just want to make mention of the fact that, in case you're totally confused, line item number 10 talks about the credit card machines. And we just wanted to say that we've taken on the credit card machines like maybe 2 years ago. Just recently, the state was absorbing the cost for the surcharge. And of course, the state doesn't have the funds to do that anymore, so they have to pass it off to the consumer or the defendant in this matter. So we do charge people an extra 2.99% on top of the charges.
Which means it's not, the village doesn't
Well,
absorb it.
no, and we explain that to people too. It's just, and typically if you use your credit card to buy an item of clothing at any merchant store, you're actually paying that cost indirectly. You just don't realize it. So, and then on number 11, it says, we talk about N-Court, and in case you don't know what N-Court is, it's a service that we use to take payments online, and we probably they probably take 5 to 10% of our online payments. It's a very small percentage. And line item 12, in case you don't know what that is, it's the fundamental business services. They are our parking ticket service that they collect on any old parking tickets for us.
Yeah, let me dovetail onto that. Is that the parking tickets, there's a law you can only have, before you can suspend their license, you have to have 3 from the same, and all we did is kept accumulating. So we went with this company, and they said, we'll go out there and get that money for you at a percentage. Actually, what we're doing, it would be money lost, now we got money gained. And I forget how much.
Well, just as an example, for the 2015 year, we collected approximately a little over $10,000 in parking tickets.
Yeah, and that goes directly into the.
And as far as FPS, they do have a collection for the services, and it was a minimal. It was $444 that they were collecting from the village, but we made out by having them.
Now, all that being said is that every time we make a move, we make sure that we go through every step. And basically, we're looking at the monies that are involved in here. The reason we do that is because we're all taxpayers. The other thing, too, is the things they call, I'm going to say everybody probably having laptops, the computers and things like that. As you see, we got them on the bench, and we get them from the state of New York. There is one thing that has been requested, and the request is this, is that we want all of them connected together, networking through that. That has not been completed yet. The state says, oh yeah, just as soon as we start going, they didn't fund it. So we're still after that. That means she can talk to me, I can talk to whoever else is on a secure laptops. The other thing too, and keep an eye on this. Keep an eye on this. It's, there's a note in there, and it's underneath small claims. Right now, small claims goes up to $3,000. The legislature, over the last maybe 2.5, 3 years, kept pushing that we expand that to $10,000 to capture. What's that mean? Every fender bender, we'll have it here, every little things that goes up to $10,000 will be right here. Now, that may not mean much to you, but that's an increase of 300%. A lot.
Typically, anything over $3,000 we would send off to county for. Eventually, they're going to allow us to people to file a claim up to $10,000.
Keep an eye on that. We'll keep you all with that, but just want to make sure that you understand. And there's a special report. Just take a look at that, and I'm going to look at the bottom line. This is what the court attendants do, and this is the amount of hours they put in, about 2,500 hours per year, that the village is lucky to have these court attendants stay here. They pass papers around, they call the court to order, and they do all of the fill-in things, the glue that holds the court together. And the other part too is that the court monitors, Dutchess County court monitors usually come down and monitor us once a year. This year they didn't do it. We haven't got their report, so we do that. Now the other thing is before I get down to the monies, is we have self-audit, and then we have Jennifer comes down and checks us out. Now the self-audit, we invite a businessman or somebody of an expertise that has nothing to do with the court, just a new pair of eyes, and they look at the procedures. And the reason I say that, God have mercy on Ed Hinsman. He used to be a court attendant. The first day he came into the office, we had all of our cases lined up on the shelf. And we were doing that for at least 2 or 3 years. First thing he walked in there, he says, "What are those?" I says, "Those are the kids." He says, "There? Anybody could take them and leave them." And that's why I want people who audit us to have a fresh pair of eyes, and I prefer they know nothing about the court. And that's what we try to do. Now, I'm going to go into probably the mayor's expertise. We're not a cost center. And I'm not privileged to sit there and say we make money for the village. And we never look at it that way. But it so happens that the total income that we have is $440,000. Out of that, it costs the village to run the court $200,000. So we turn over something like $250,000 to the coffers of the court. With that being said, is that all the rest of the stuff that we present to you has backup materials in here. If you have any questions on those, please ask. I know you're pushed for time, but the important thing is I could not run this court by myself. I need competent people like Joe Tadero and Donna and the rest of the staff out there. And by the way, unofficially, people walk up to me and they say, "You have probably one of the best run courts and the nicest court." If you notice, there's no signs out there, no negative signs. Every person comes in there, we consider a citizen, and we treat them with dignity. And doing that, you find it's very easy to deal with people when you give them that. With that, I conclude it with naturally a gift. since you don't know what we do. I'm gonna tell you, this is what we do. I wanna hear somebody say, wow, you do all of that? Yeah, wow.
Oh, well, because we don't pay them, they're
Oh.
volunteers,
You
so,
have the,
I know, well,
Everybody got one?
yeah, okay.
Okay. Any questions? Okay. Yeah, hey, listen, why don't we do this? Is that, I'm sure you got a lot of questions. Go through it, and we'll have a session, we'll scrub it through, okay?
thanks for your
Good.
time.
Is that all right, Mayor?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thank you.
A lot of hard work put into that.
See if I can
Ask
get
her,
everybody's
see,
ready.
you see the sweat run over.
That's really your reports and stuff, but thank you.
Take care.
Yeah.
Take care.
Yeah.
Thank you, Johnny. Do you know this guy?
Yeah, a little bit.
Thank you all very much for listening.
Thank you.
What?
So you don't need no test.
Say no.
Say no, Bob.
You really want me here?
We always win. No.
You're up first.
Go ahead, I'll listen.
It's Brian County Super Court.
Yeah.
Do you want me to do yours?
Yeah, that's fine. That's really
Good job, Ray.
quicker than mine. Okay, yeah. I put up
You know what I mean? Brian's gonna-
Ray Bogdacker.
Your contractual is 12. The first one is what? For May, no, for all your other stuff. I took what you spent this year.
Yeah.
And figured out if it made
Okay. Is that good or bad?
No, it's good. Unless you're calculating.
Where's your book,
but-
Phil?
No, I didn't. It's me and Mary Ann. That's the problem. You know, it's not, I don't need money, I need people to give money to. And that's all. You know, like we talked about, maybe a computer.
Yep.
And then Mary Ann mentioned something earlier today about maybe a new recording device for the planning and zoning board.
That would be really
Yeah.
good.
It's
idea.
only 15 years coming.
Yeah, I mean, she's got a little tiny digital thing now, but it's old. We haven't looked into it, but I would think that would probably go under planning and zoning board, not so much our, our account, but besides that, we
So your
don't,
business is usually just new people.
yeah.
Which is in
Yeah.
the budget, which is already.
Yeah, there's nothing that we really need, you know, and there's a lot of wants, but who doesn't have those? No, it's gotta go back in. But I think it's under warranty, it sounds like it's,
Same
I
problem.
spoke with the guy today, yeah, I spoke with him today, and he's like, bring it right back, so. It was working for a couple days, but
What was that?
we put a new transmission in the Ford Explorer, our other car, and it's acting up. But it's under warranty. As long as it's that, I mean, I think it's that part. I'm not a mechanic, but it seems to be doing the same thing. And the guy that repaired it, I spoke with him today, and he was like, bring it right back. So it wasn't, you know, I don't know yet until he gets it and tells us, you know, what's exactly wrong with it. But the way that it is, it's unfortunately, it's useless. It's not safe.
I got a question, do you really need the two vehicles?
When we have somebody, you know, it had sat out front for months with a broken transmission. We hired Christina with the intention of having her go out and around also, so yes, you know, then the other problem is, I mean, the truck is pretty much brand new, so there shouldn't be anything wrong with it. But when it goes in for the shop, we don't have anything.
Right.
And I'm not you know, I understand my vehicle's not covered if I'm driving it around work and I'm not.
We want you covered, that's
Right.
nice.
Yeah, you know, so I think two is necessary to that extent. You know, that's why we fixed it. Like I said, it was sitting there just waiting. Then it was, okay, well, now we have Christina, where's she gonna drive, get it fixed? And we all know how that turned out.
Yeah,
You
okay.
know, so, I mean,
All right,
that's really,
just a question.
yeah.
Okay, very good.
Good?
Yep.
So,
Have you took too long.
Yeah,
And you didn't even bleed.
so I can go get a computer tomorrow, is that what you said? Okay.
Well,
Well,
Oh, Pete's got paper.
Thank you, sir. Good, how are you?
good.
Good.
You know what's missing in this picture, right?
Oh, what's missing?
There. You know, I don't know whether you want to take some time to go over it, or you just want me to kind of go through briefly each one of the items. And I'm sure there's stuff you're gonna want to look at,
And it falls over.
come back with questions. So maybe I'll just run through
We'll
the
make a
stuff.
space for it. If we're gonna continue to do this, I'll make a nice space.
The first couple pages are the sheets that Jen Brown
With
gives.
little,
And she asked me to fill
I'll take a
in
piece
the
of wood.
numbers, so I do that. So
I'll route it.
actually, if you turn to page 1, that's where the line item starts. The first line item is the personal service, A5110.100. And this one,
Just that.
the numbers that are shown on here are basically for last year, because you guys are in contract negotiation with the highway guys now, so
Let's not get Casey.
the bottom line number on this is gonna depend on whatever you guys negotiate on that. The only thing I noted in this one is that highway is still down one full-time employee from where it was 6-7 years ago. And I do believe that in your negotiations, you should definitely try to create job classifications. Right now in the highway department, you have one job classification as laborer. I think it would be in the village's best interest to create additional job classifications similar to surrounding towns. These would include equipment operator and heavy equipment operator. That way you could target the people you hire, and you could probably retain people better by having the separate job classifications for them. And that's pretty much standard for most of the
I
places
just have
around
a
here.
question for that though, because I've noticed on other jobs and places like if someone's classified as a heavy machine operator.
Right.
So you see this is one case that I saw that I almost had a heart attack with. But the guy's in the
And that's all he was
backhoe,
gonna
and
do.
he's sitting there,
Yeah.
and the other guy is sitting there shoveling stuff in, and then.
It doesn't-
the
I don't
guy never
believe
got
it-
out, and he moved it, and then he'd shove stuff, I'm like, oh my God.
It doesn't have to be like that, because I think you can include wording in the heavy equipment operator saying also does labor's classification. And again, these are things that other towns have in place already. The village is unique in that they don't have any job classification. So I'm sure that there's wording that we could put in that would.
Does that lock them into a certain pay scale?
Oh, it locks them into whatever pay scale you get, yes, it'd be a pay scale that went with the job classification. But then you could make it so that it would be more equitable to someone who's an operator who's more valuable perhaps than just, and when you go to hire people, it would give you a lot more flexibility too. And you could retain people better. Right now, you have nothing in your classification as labor that any of these people have to operate anything. So they could say, well, it doesn't say that in my job description, it just says I'm a laborer. So,
But wouldn't that cover everything?
no, labor is not someone who operates heavy equipment. So, I think again, other towns have gone through this, and, I think most towns and municipalities already have separate job classifications. The county has them on file. I think I've given copies to the board before, and I think it's something that would be in your best interest to pursue. The next one is the fall bulk cleanup, which is item 5110.150. This is at the board's discretion. You did not do a bulk pickup last year. The last time you did it was 2013, and the total out-of-pocket cost at that time was $21,628. There's a cost breakdown on the next sheet. If you were to do this in the coming year, I would estimate it to be between $25,000 and $30,000. I would note that, as it is right now, any of the village residents who live in the town of Wappinger already have the ability to go to the town recycle center, which takes care of a lot of these things. The people in the village in the town of Poughkeepsie site also have that ability. The
the town of Poughkeepsie facility is not a continuous one like the town of Wappinger, but it does give you an opportunity 4 or 5 times a year to go.
Where's
for
that
something like
located?
that. I want to say it's at their facility up